Hey everybody, I'm Tim Ward and welcome back to Garden Sense. Well folks, last week we released our annual Overseeding Your Lawn video and I was inundated with additional questions, as is usually the case. However, I realized that I made one very glaring omission and I got at least a dozen emails asking for clarification on this one issue. So we're going to address that here today as well. We've got 3 questions we want to talk about, so buckle up everybody. Let's jump right in. The first question for today is from Jim. Tim, I may have missed this, but how long after spraying Image do I wait to scalp the yard? And this first question addresses the very glaring mistake that I made when we did our video last week. I never told you folks how long to wait in between putting down the wilt-proof and Image mixture and scalping your lawn. Now, just to clarify, Jim, in your question, you asked about Image only, okay? So if you were to just put down Image without using wilt-proof, you would actually have to wait 30 days before it's safe to scalp and overseed your lawn, because all of that chemical is going to go down into the soil and that's actually going to kill any potential grass seed. Now, with our overseeding process, when you take 1 ounce of wilt-proof, 4 ounces of the Image, and you add it to a gallon of water in a pump sprayer, after you make that application, you can actually mow your lawn within 3 days. And when I say mow, I mean scalp your lawn. So 3 days after applying that mixture, you can go ahead and scalp your lawn. Now, if within one of those 3 days you get some rain, I would recommend that you actually wait a 4th day. But the reason we're doing that is we just want to give Image enough time for that chemical to work its way into the plant's overall system, down into the roots, so we can kill those weeds. And the wilt-proof is what allows that Image to stick to the leaves of the weeds. It stays on the grass and it doesn't get down into the soil, and that's why you can do it within 3 days. So again, folks, I am so sorry. I got at least a dozen emails about this. How long do I wait between wilt-proof and Image and scalping the lawn? If you are using that mixture that we recommend, 3 days. If one of those days there's rain, wait a 4th day, then go ahead and scalp your lawn and then just follow the rest of the process. Question number 2 is from Sandy. Hi Tim, just watched your overseeding video and it was very helpful. You did a great job breaking down the steps. Question about wilt-proof. If it's as sticky as you state, will it stick to and gum up the blade area of the mower? If so, what will clean it? Okay, so this is another really good question that we don't typically address with the overseeding process. Wilt-proof as a standalone product, if you were to squirt some out onto your hand, it's very sticky because it's mostly pine sap. It's a very obviously sticky substance. However, once you add it to that water and you add the Image in and then you spray down your yard, once it dries, it's no longer that sticky and it's no longer going to affect any of your blade mowers or the deck of your mower any more than normal grass clippings would. So that's a really good question, but the quote-unquote stickiness after it dries isn't really a problem. And I'll be honest with you, even if it was, the fact that you're only using it once a year when you're overseeding your lawn, it's going to be a negligible impact at all. If this was something that you were doing weekly or monthly, you may see a little bit more of a buildup than normal. But again, we've been following this process for years and we've never seen any type of impact on it. And again, it's because once that wilt-proof dries, you're good to go. So again, you put down that application of the Image and the wilt-proof, you wait 3 days, it's absolutely dry by now. You can go ahead and mow your lawn without any impact on the blades or the mower deck. The final question for today is from Ron. Hi Tim, love your videos. I recently watched the reseeding video. I did not hear you mention anything about aerating the lawn as part of your steps. Would you do that right before you lay down the seed? We live in Akron, Ohio, so I figure the best time to do this is early September. Is that correct? We did the aeration last year but did not do any overseeding. I figured it would be beneficial to aerate again this year. I was not sure how often you should aerate. Okay, this is another good question, but let's talk about the aeration process first before we discuss overseeding. Typically, when you aerate, you're going to want to do that when the soil is really compacted. And the whole purpose of aeration is to pull out those plugs, pull out those cores. They're usually about 2 to 3 inches. And again, that's your soil. And it's going to allow oxygen and water to actually get down deeper into the soil. And so this is a great time typically to overseed your lawn. Now, you mentioned frequency. Once a year should be more than enough. I suppose that if you get a lot of heavy traffic, let's say you're parking cars on your lawn all the time, yeah, maybe you do need to aerate twice a year, but the vast majority of people do not need to aerate every single year. Your lawn can certainly benefit from a yearly aeration. Now, you asked when the best time to do it. The best time to do it is right before you seed. Again, if you think about just the process of aeration, it pulls out these cores and now you've got all these holes all around your lawn. That's a great time to overseed because now the seed's going to get down into that hole. It's going to be protected more and it's going to allow for better germination. The challenge with using aeration right before this particular overseeding process that we're recommending is, again, that scalping process. Typically when you aerate, you will actually mow your lawn a lot shorter and then you will go ahead and start plugging it and getting those cores. Well, we need that grass longer because when we scalp it, that grass, those grass clippings, are going to take the place of any straw that we're putting down. So you have two options. One is you could just try to aerate your lawn when the grass is long. And again, there's no reason you can't do that. It's just not typically the process that an aeration company would follow. The other option would be to cut the grass load like you normally would, aerate your lawn, and you can then at that point go ahead and just put the seed down and cover it with something like Easy Straw. And just don't worry about like that step for the wilt proof. Don't worry about, any of that. So again, it's kind of up to you. If you think you can aerate effectively without cutting the grass really short, then you can go ahead and follow the overseeding process that we outlined in our video last week. But if you're not sure you can do that, either because of your own equipment or what the aeration company is telling you, then just go ahead and follow that aeration step, overseed your lawn, you'll be good to go. All right, everybody, just a couple final thoughts before we wrap up this week's video podcast. Folks, I've got some great news. Today, we are kicking off our annual fall feeding frenzy. If you folks have taken advantage of this in the past, it has gotten even better this year. So the fall feeding frenzy is going to contain 3 bags of the Turf Truss fertilizer. It could be the maintenance or it could be the starter formula, and it could be the 5M size bags or the 10M size bags. But this year, we're also throwing in a bottle of Kickstart. As you know, we talk about Kickstart a lot. You know how important it is in terms of just establishing root systems, helping the root systems of an existing plant get stronger. So we decided this year, let's make it even better. So head over to rosensonline.com and check out the fall feeding frenzy. This is something we have done every year. It's wildly successful because it allows you to not only stock up on fertilizer for your Labor Day-ish weekend fertilization, but also that 4th and final feeding that needs to take place in November. So again, head over to rosensonline.com, take advantage of the savings. Again, they qualify for free shipping. You're going to save a lot of money if you take advantage of this promotion. Folks, I also want to just remind you, again, the reason we're putting Kickstart in with the fall feeding frenzy is because of how beneficial it is to the plants. Folks, if you're not going to go ahead and buy the fall feeding frenzy, make sure you still get some bottles of Kickstart and that you're giving it to your lawn, giving it to your plants. August is a really hot month. September can be a really hot and humid month, and Kickstart is really going to allow your plants to get really, really strong. And again, it's going to allow it to come back even healthy next year once it goes dormant with the winter months. So head over to Rosens Online. We sell it by the case, we sell it by the bottle, but make sure you always have Kickstart on hand. Folks, as always, if you have additional questions about the overseeding process or just any questions in general about your lawn, about your gardens, your trees, your shrubs, please send an email directly to me, tim@rosensonline.com. Give me a couple of days and I promise that if I receive your email, I will respond to it. Folks, we really appreciate all of the time that you spent with us. Thank you so much for all of the questions. Please keep them coming. I hope that you folks have an amazing rest of the week. God bless.